Hi, everyone. Thank you all for coming. This is a fantastic turnout. I'm very excited. My name is Lori Alvandian. I am the director of the AGBU Papazian Library here at AUA. And in collaboration with Tufenkian Foundation, we are organizing and hosting this event today. As you're all well aware, today's speaker will be Rouben Galichian, who will present his new book, Armenia and Its Borders, which was published just this past March 2024. And while the title is quite self-explanatory, the many reasons behind Armenia's changing border landscape is quite complex over the centuries. So we'll be hearing a little bit about why that is today. Unfortunately, this is still a very timely topic. So we're very thankful to Mr. Galichian to offer his insights with us today. I will soon pass the mic over to Beto Demircan from Tufenkian Foundation, who will also say a few words, and also to Armen Martirosyan from Antares Publishing House, who, as you may guess, is the publisher of this book. And just in case you're not familiar with our speaker today, but judging by how many are here today, I think that's not the case, I'll just give a quick introduction. So Rouben Galichian is an independent London-based scholar and researcher specializing in historical maps of Armenia and the South Caucasus region. He's published many books and articles on the history and cartography of the Caucasus, many of which you may see on the table in the back. Those are some of the books that Mr. Galichian has generously donated to the AGBU Papazian Library over the years, so you can sift through them after the event. His first book, entitled Historic Maps of Armenia, The Cartographic Heritage, which presents a collection of world maps and maps of the Caucasus over a period of 2,600 years, became a bestseller in 2005. His articles have appeared in various cartographic magazines, journals, and periodicals, among them Imago Mundi and the Journal of the International Map Collectors Society. He has lectured extensively in Armenia, the US, Iran, UK, and France. And so, without further ado, I'll call on our next speaker from Tufenkian Foundation, Beto Demircan.
Thank you, Lori. Welcome everyone to the American University of Armenia for the presentation of this book, Armenia and Its Borders by Rouben Galichian. In a time marked by high-end political tension and geopolitical dynamics, particularly concerning the demarcation and delimitation of the Armenia-Azerbaijan border, this book, sponsored by the Tufenkian Foundation and published by Antares Publishing House, emerges as a source illuminating the historical, geographical, and political complexities surrounding Armenia's borders. This is Rouben Galichian's latest work and the second publication supported by our foundation, the Tufenkian Foundation. It embodies an earnest quest for inquiry and comprehension. Through research and analysis, Mr. Galichian navigates the intricate tapestry of Armenia's borders. Amidst the myriad challenges confronting Armenia today, the pages of Armenia and its borders assume great significance. Galichian lays a solid foundation upon which we can better grasp contemporary political developments and assert our positions rather than passively accept external impositions by delving into the historical underpinning of Armenia's borders. Knowing where we're coming from is crucial for figuring out today's challenges. This book serves as an invaluable guide in that endeavor. May this presentation catalyze deeper understanding, foster meaningful dialogue, and pave the way for positive transformation for our country. I offer a warm welcome to Rouben Galichian, whose invaluable contribution to our comprehension of Armenia's borders, the Tufenkian Foundation wholeheartedly embraces. And furthermore, I wish to express my appreciation to AUA's AGBU Papazian Library and to Lori Alvandian for providing us with this platform for dialogue, critical inquiry, and scholarly discourse. And I would like to donate from the books to the library. So where's Lori? Yeah, so here you go. Thank you. Thank you. So, Baron Mardirosyan, Antares Media Publishing House.
Բարև ձեզ, ինձ ասացին, որ պետք է այս միջոցառման ժամանակ խոսք ասեմ և 3 օր է այս գիրքը սեղանից դրած, ես անդադ թերթում եմ, թե ինչ պիտի ասեմ, ու ունեի ուրիշ տեքստ, ճանապարհին սկսեցի մտածել, թե բա ինչի սենց եղավ, հիմա այսպես թե այնպես, նկարագիրը, վավերագիրը տրվող այս քարտեզների Rouben Galichianն է, որը շատ ժամանակին այս գործը հասցրեց անել և մնացած կազմակերպիչների հետ հասցրեցին այս գործը սարսափելի մեծ ակտուալություն ունի այսօր Հայաստանի համար։ Շնորհակալություն։ Շնորհակալություն մեր պետությանը սենց թիկունք հանդիսանալու համար։ Բայց ու քարտեզի մեջ, առհասարակ քարտեզագրության մեջ կա լեգենդ հասկացողություն, որը բացատրագիրն է քարտեզի տեքստային ձևով։ Բայց ես ուզում եմ մի ուրիշ լեգենդի մասին խոսել։ Ինչու եմ ասում լեգենդ, որովհետև կարող է լինեն փոքրիկ անճշտություններ, բայց դա իրական պատմություն է։ Երբ որ 1996 թվականին Հայաստանի Հանրապետության այն ժամանակվա վարչապետ Ռոբերտ Քոչարյանը ստորագրում է պայմանագիրը Պեռնորիկարի հետ, կոնյակի գործարանը վաճառելու հետ կապված, նախագահ Լևոն Տեր-Պետրոսյանը կանչում է Ժիրայր Լիպարիտյանին և ասում. Ժիրայր, բանակցողը մեզ հետ լիբանանցի է, Պեռնորիկարի ներկայացուցիչը։ Դու էլ ես Լիբանանում ծնվել։ Դուք երկուսով գնացեք իրար հետ խոսեք, տեսեք լավ ենք վաճառել այս գործարանը, թե չէ։ Մեկը գինը չի փոխվի, իրանց համար ոչ մի բան չի փոխվի, բայց մենք ապագայի համար հասկանանք, քանի որ սա մեր պետության առաջի գործարքն է։ Եթե թանկ ենք վաճառել, զգույշ լինենք, ավելի էժան ասենք, եթե էժան ենք վաճառել, մեր պետության շահը ավելի շատ պահենք, ավելի թանկ ասենք։ Եվ Ժիրայր Լիպարիտյանը գնում է այս մարդու հետ խոսում։ Ու ասում է, մեր նախագահան հետաքրքրվեց, սա ինձ էլ է հետաքրքրում, մենք լավ ենք վաճառել, թե չէ։ Ու այս մարդը պատասխանում է, ասում է, գիտեք, այն ինչ որ անշարժ գույքը դուք վաճառեցիք, հա, ասեմ, որ մոտավորապես 30, ես ինչքան հիշում եմ, լեգենդս տեղ է, $30 միլիոն մասին է խոսքը։ Մի 2-3 միլիոն դոլար արժի, 96 թվականին Հայաստանում անշարժ գույքը շատ ցածր էր, գինը։ Բայց այն տակառները, որ դուք մեզ առաջարկել էիք, ծակ են, փչացած են, իսկ դուք որպես լավ տակառ էիք առաջարկել։ Իհարկե լավ եք ասել։ Դուք գիտեիք, որ ես շշերը պիտի փոխեմ, բայց ձեր կոտրված եւ, չգիտեմ, հին շշերը որպես լավ շշեր եք ներկայացրել։ Երևի լավ եք վաճառել։ Ասում եք, որ ունեք 110-120 տարեկան կոնյակներ, մերոնք ստուգել են, ներկած սպիրտ է։ Իհարկե լավ եք վաճառել։ Դե մի 4 միլիոն դոլարի ապրանքը 30-ով վաճառելը երևի լավ է։ Բայց ճիշտն ասած մենք այստեղ չենք եկել այս գույքի հետևից։ Մենք այս գույքից շատ ունենք։ Դուք ունեք 6 կոնյակագործ։ Մենք եկել ենք նրանց հետևից։ Նրանց հոտի զգացման, համի զգացումի, կուպաժի, հմտության։ Բայց ձեր կոնտրակտի մեջ իրենց մասին խոսք չկա։ Իսկ այս մասնագետներից յուրաքանչյուրը միջազգային շուկայում, ոնց որ ֆուտբոլիստներին են վաճառում, յուրաքանչյուրի արժեքը $7 միլիոն է։ Դուք ձեր 4 միլիոնի անշարժ գույքը վաճառեցիք 30-ով, բայց այս $42 միլիոն չհաշվեցիք, որովհետև դուք մարդկանց գնահատել չգիտեք։ Ես կավելացնեի, մենք մարդկանց սիրել չգիտենք։ Հիմա ինչ կապ ունի այս իմ ասածը այս գրքի հետ։ Երբ որ առաջի էջից թերթում ես ու տեսնում ես ոնց է քո երկիրը մաշվել, ուզում ես պատճառները գտնես, դու հասկանում ես, որ հա, ու եթե դրա մեջ մենակ հարևաններին չես մեղադրում, այլ ասում ես, իսկ ես ինչ եմ արել, որ տենց չլինի, դու հասկանում ես, որ սկզբից մաշվել է ժողովուրդը, սկզբից ժողովուրդն է պակասել, իսկ հետո պակասել են սահմանները։ Ինչ է սահմանը։ Դա այն սահմանն է, որը դու կարող ես պահել։ Դու ունակ ես պահել։ Իսկ դա երկու կարևոր գործոնի հետ է կապված։ Մարդկանց քանակի եւ մարդկանց որակի, որը կրթությունն է։ Ես հուսով եմ, որ այս մեծ աշխատանքը, որ պարոն Գալիչյանը արել է, նաեւ ուրիշ մարդկանց համար կլինի ուղեցույց, թե ոնց անել, որ մեր երկիրը առնվազն էլ չփոքրանա, եւ դրա համար շատ կարեւոր է, որ մենք ապրենք այստեղ, մեր մարմնի ջերմությամբ ամեն օր տաքացնենք այս եղածը, եւ այնպես առավոտը բարի լույս ասենք մեր հարևանին, որ եթե իր մտքում կար այստեղից գնալ, փոշմանի ու մնա։ Շնորհակալություն։
Good afternoon. I'm going to speak about Armenia, but in English language, because the book was intended for the non-Armenians mainly. Let's go back to the history of how the book was born, actually. Originally, the idea was to have some old geographic information in the Armenian textbooks, the school textbooks. That was 4 years ago, my suggestion, but somehow it didn't come about. Eventually, I decided to prepare one book which introduces Armenia through the history, through the eyes of the others, not Armenians, always. To the world, see what country it is, through what stages of history is passed on, and prepare a small book, which I did in 1921, and presented it at the time to the Ministry of Culture, and got approval as this book to be a teaching matter, another subject that is used in schools. Not textbook, but a subject that is in schools. The small volume was published with the help of AGBU 2 years ago in 4 languages, Armenian, Russian, English, and French. And then I found out through the contact with our observers on the borders of Armenia, and the lawyers, international lawyers that were raising Armenian problems in international courts, personal meetings through them, I found out that almost none of them know anything about the history and the past of this region. They certainly know nothing about our conflicts with Azerbaijan. So I decided to prepare a more extensive book in English language so that any foreigner can see through the history where Armenia has passed through, where it's come, what stages it passed through during the 1915-16, and then end up in what situation we have today. when we finished introducing the book, because the book was written at the time when this Tavush problem didn't exist, just was printed in a couple of months ago. So in the end, I can add a few words about the situation today, if you're interested. So well, I'd like to thank the sponsors of the book, Tufenkian Foundation, Garni Investor Organization, Dr. Shahen Zeytuntian of Mirhav Hotel in Goris. And also thank the AUA for organizing this book launch. Thank you very much for all these who have helped to come, for this to come about. This book can serve as a guide to any non-Armenian, at what the country is, what its problems are, and where it's trying to go. Now, let's start from prehistory, about 600 BC. This is a cuneiform inscription found in Iran, in city of in Behistun, near city of Kermanshah, western Iran, where it said 25 meters by 15 meters inscription in 3 languages. It talks about Darius the Great's conquests and his work, history that he has created around the world. And he talks about the neighboring Armenia here, written in 521 BC, but actually inscription is dated 517 BC. Now in 3 languages, in Elamite, the name of this neighboring country is Harminuya. In Persian, Old Persian, it's Armenia, which still is valid, and all the Armenian name, Armenia, comes from there. So even the Persian writing books today, you see Armenia or Armanistan, either that or the other. So the name dates 600 BC. But in the Babylonian language, it is written Urartu. Now, let's look at it today, today's around the world in Europe. There's a country in the middle of Europe, which we called Germania, the French called Allemagne, the English called Germany, but the Germans themselves called Deutschland. Has nothing to do with that. So this is the basis of why Armenia and Urartu are the same country, referring to the same region, same country, to different pages of history. Many books have written about this cuneiform description. All of them come to this conclusion. Now, let's go about 100 years after that. You must have heard the name of Herodotus. Herodotus has written, he's the founder of historiography. His book, The Histories, describes the world, and in the world, near the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea, in the middle of the world, it says Armenia. There's no Azerbaijan. There's no other country around Armenia except Persia. So this goes back 450 BCE. Then we come to the 2nd century. 2nd century, the Greek cartographer Claudius Ptolemaeus had already started to write about how to make a map, how to draw a map, how to measure distances, this and that, the other. And he's written a book called Geographia. It had 27 maps. One was a world map, the others were regional maps of the world. This is the map of the South Caucasus. This is the Black Sea, the Caspian Sea. Here in underlined green, it says Albania, Caucasian Albania, which is the Armenians call it Arvang, the Persians call it Aran. This is the western part of the Caspian Sea. Strabo writes about this area, saying there are about 60 tribes that live in this area that have different languages, speak different languages, and they don't understand each other, but they pay their dues to the king. Today, in the region of Azerbaijan, there are more than 15 tribes of Talishes, Sakhurs, Avars, Udis, Ingilois, etc., who are not allowed to speak their language, because by law, their language is Azerbaijani, they are Azerbaijanis. So here we have See here we have Iberia, which is part of Georgia. Then we have Atropatene. This is south of the Arax River. Arax River is here. South of Arax River, the region is called Atropatene, or by the old Persian, old name of Media. In Armenian, Marastan, in Persian, Mad. This country was part of the constituent part of the Persian Empire. And then about 300 BC, when Alexander the Great attacked the area and conquered almost all of Persia and Afghanistan and up to India, there's the local military leader in this region, Atropat, did not fought against Alexander, and he did not allow Alexander to enter his country. This was the only region that Alexander couldn't conquer. And about 200, 300 years later, the local population decided to change their name into the name of the military leader, Atropat. It was called Atropat, Atropaten. Strabo calls it Atropaten. And it was called Atropaten until the Arab invasion. In the Arab languages, with the d, z, and th, etc., there are different g, j. These letters are sometimes get mixed up. So it would evolved into Atropatkan, Atorbatgan, Aderbigan, Azerbaijan, Azerbaijan, and today's Azerbaijan name come from there. So this is a country, province of Iran, south of the Arax River, never north of the Arax River. And then here was Armenia Major, Greater Armenia, Lesser Armenia, etc. This is the 2nd century map. This is an Islamic map of the 10th century. We're jumping forward. South Caucasus, the Caucasus Mountains, Caspian Sea, River Kura, River Arax. The names written in Persian, it says Azerbaijan, south of the Arax River. And it says here Armenia, the same name that was on the Darius the Great's inscriptions, Armenia. Two mountains, Greater and Lesser Ararats here. And then there is Aran, Albania, Caucasian Albania, north of the Arax River. Now, today Azerbaijan says Aran and Azerbaijan are the same country, we're the same people. They're not. This is Islamic cartography until the 10th century, continued until the 15th century. Aran was a different country from Azerbaijan and Iran. In Azerbaijan, they spoke a Pahlavi language until the 15th century. In Aran, they spoke different languages. As Strabo describes, 15, 16 different languages they spoke. Were spoken there. Now, why has this become Azerbaijan? That's another story which I told previously. The name was Atropaten. It evolved into Azerbaijan, the largest province in Iran. Here is a map of 1730 of the Caucasus. That's the Caspian Sea. Now, they're in different colors. Here, south of Arax River, Azerbaijan, 1730, French cartographer. Erivan and Armenia, extending from Turkey to the confluence of Arax and Kura rivers, Karabakh. Georgia, and here in green, different khanats, Islamic khanats, princedoms, principalities. There's no country. There are different principalities. General name, Shirvan. Shirvan was the name given to that area, went to the Azerbaijanis from the 17th, 18th century until 1918. Now, this is a map prepared by the close ally of Azerbaijan, Turkey. The map of 1877, the Russo-Turkish War, 1877, where Russia conquered Kars, the region of Kars, etc. Here it's interesting. You see underlined red, Ottoman Empire. I've tried to underline this lettering, Arabic lettering, and then he says Anatolia. Anatolia is only the protruding part here, or peninsula of Asia Minor. Today, Anatolia is, in Turkey calls Anatolia the whole of the land, in order to eliminate the name of Armenia, which in their country existed. Armenian highlands are there. So in order to take away the use of Armenian highlands, he calls the land Anatolia until up to the Persian borders, which is geographically incorrect. Anatolia, it's a Greek word, meaning east. Now, Byzantium Empire was here. They conquered during the 5th century, and then they conquered the eastern part of their land there, and they called it East, Anatolia. When Turkey wanted to eliminate the name of Armenia from this area, they decided to call this area Anatolia, and this area called Doğu Anadolu. Doğu in Turkish means east. So Doğu Anadolu means in two languages, east. East, first of all, Doğu in Turkish east, Anadolu in Greek east. East of east. So they gave that up and they called the whole lot Anatolia. Well, anyway, and the Armenian highlands in the Ottoman maps is always called Armenistan. It's underlined blue here. And the region of today's Azerbaijan is Shirvan, and Azerbaijan is south of Iraq in the Iranian province of Iran. Now let's jump just before the end of the First World War. When the Allies was realizing that Turkey is going to lose the war, they started thinking, how are they going to split the region of Turkey into different countries, mainly giving consideration to the oil-rich areas. This is based on Sykes-Picot Agreement, this map. This map's from the British archives, and I think it's the first time this has been published anywhere. So this letter A and this area, this was supposed to be, it was decided to call it under French influence. Lebanon, etc., under French influence. The red area and the letter B was going to be the British influence. All the oil fields of Iraq, Kuwait, etc., the British. And here in little lettering it says, below this line, nobody except England is allowed to interfere with the affairs of the Arabs. And here is the Italian influenced region, and the yellow one is the Russian influenced region. But the name country is called Armenia, and also here Russian Armenia and in Western Armenia. This was one of the plans of how it is going to be. There were other plans. Another plan is this one, which appeared in the American Atlas, Crumb's Atlas, printed in Chicago in 1920. Here you can see Wilson's borders, and then Armenia extended to Baku even. All this was supposed to be called Armenia. And this was Anatolia, and this was Smyrna. There was no Turkey in. But Turkish diplomacy, Ataturk, and the bickering of the Entente powers between themselves, who gets what, resulted in that Ataturk decided to act, and he took over the country and established what Turkey is today. Now, let's go one further step. When the First World War was almost at the end, Russia left the fighting, so the Tsarist Russia collapsed. And in order to prevent any mishaps in the South Caucasus, any wars, etc., there was a commission called Transcaucasian Commission established in the area in 1916. Later changed its name. It was Transcaucasian Commission, and they changed the Transcaucasian Committee. However, that committee had decided or planned that this green area should be the future Republic of Armenia. which include Kars, the regions of Kars, etc., Nakhichevan, and part of all of the Artsakh. This was supposed to be Armenia, but again, the Western powers decided to end the war and draw the map not according to Wilson's mandate, but according to what their wishes of the Ataturk. And this region in blue was left to be as an Armenian. Because Armenia and Azerbaijan in 1918, when they're both independent, had different views about Nakhichevan and Karabakh, and they were disputed. The regions were disputed. Sometimes Armenia was disputing that Nakhichevan should be Armenian, and because in Karabakh, majority of the population is Armenian, it should be part of Armenia. Anyway, this bickering carried on with no result, and we've seen little wars here and there. And in May of 1920, Azerbaijan decided to become communist. And in November of the same year, 1920, Armenia became communist. When Armenia became communist, the next day, Azerbaijani government issued a decree saying that the Nakhichevan and Nagorno-Karabakh, Mountainous Karabakh, should be part of Armenia. And this was printed in the newspapers in Baku, in Yerevan, in Moscow, and it carried on until April. In April of 1921, our friend Vladimir Ilyich Lenin decided to give Nakhichevan the name of independent region and hand it over to Azerbaijan. Overnight, they decided to hand it over to Azerbaijan. But Karabakh stayed in Armenian hands. All this mountainous Karabakh is not only Artsakh. Mountainous Karabakh is Kashatagh, Karvajar, Eastern Syunik, also Artsakh. All together, they're about 8,000 square kilometers. So in July, 4th of July, Stalin came to Baku. First, he said, yes, Azerbaijani government has made the right decision to give this area of Karabakh to Armenia. In the evening, he was invited to a closed meeting with Narimanov, the president of Azerbaijan at the time, and with Azeri sort of important people in Azerbaijan. In the morning, he announced that no, Karabakh is going to be part of Azerbaijan. He reversed his decision. And this is the source of all the problems that we have today. All of it, not part of it. Anyway, what was left is this. In 1926, this is what is left from Armenia. But this is an interesting map. I've spoken about this map many times in different parts, in different talks. In 1921, Soviet Russia decided to start making maps, but they didn't have any cartographic department in there. It's just a newly established country. So they took the Tsarist Russian maps of the area and drew the maps of the border between Azerbaijan and Armenia. And they kept it to themselves. These maps of 1921 to 23, until today, nobody has seen, except some people in Moscow. The government, local Armenian government, has the right number of times written asking for a copy of those maps. Nothing is forthcoming. No Azerbaijan, neither Azerbaijan nor Armenia have seen these maps. 3 years ago, President Putin announced that if Armenia and Azerbaijan are going to have and talk about their borders, border limitation, etc., and once the borders in fixing borders, then Russia should be part of it, because the maps that we have, nobody else has. The actually true maps of 1920s. It is correct, but they have not even shown to anybody yet, because it will not be suitable for Azerbaijani tastes. because all of those land parts that for 1,200 square kilometers that Soviet Union gave to Soviet Azerbaijan, on those maps belong to Armenia. On those maps, there's no enclaves. Everything is Armenian. So this map has nobody seen. But in 1926, the first Soviet great encyclopedia was published. In that published encyclopedia, there's a map of Armenia dated here, it says that 1st of April, 1926. And the interesting part is this, in here. It says published by Soviet security system. In other words, this is an official map. The Soviet security system will not publish unofficial maps. Therefore, we can assume that this map is the actual, similar to the one that Mr. Putin says you cannot see. A few points on this map. You see, Karabakh, Artsakh, and Armenia have a common border. Only the river passes through it. In a very little time, Azerbaijan occupied this area, separating Artsakh from Armenia. In these maps, there are no enclaves. All the part, everything belongs to Armenia, including Artsvashen. All of it, the area of Artsvashen is inside Armenia. This is 1926 map. Then, between 27 and 1940, these areas marked green were gradually handed over, taken from Armenia, handed over to Azerbaijan. Various reasons. One of the reasons was that in this part of the Azerbaijan, this area, the Azerbaijanis were going to establish the newly established province of Red Kurdistan. And all the Kurds living in Azerbaijan were going to be moved there. And since they are sheep herders, they need grazing for their sheep. There's not enough because this is all mountainous area. So decided the Trans-Caucasian Federation decided to take some lands from Armenia, pastures from Armenia, hand over to Azerbaijan for the Kurds. They did that 800 square kilometers of land near Black Lake, Sevlich, I'll come to that later, and Al-Lijer. In this area, 800 square kilometers were given to Azerbaijan. But in 1931, Azerbaijan decided to annul the establishment of this new province. So by law, if you've taken something for a reason, that reason has disappeared, you have to return whatever you've taken for that reason. But the lands they taken in the name of the Kurds were kept by Azerbaijan. That's about 800 square kilometers from Armenia. I think this, because there are their meetings about this in the archives, different decisions made. Why was this land given to the Azerbaijan? This can be raised in the future in the international courts, because this is against the law. You've taken something for this reason, and that reason has disappeared. You haven't gone back to the original status. But there's another story. Now, I told you about Sevlich, Black Lake. This is Sevlich here, little there. In 1925, the Armenia-Azerbaijani border was this. In 1929, it became this. 200 square kilometers, 500 square kilometers were given to Azerbaijan for this reason. Azerbaijan claims that they are heirs of the 1918 to 1920 republic, and they do not recognize the Soviet Azerbaijan. 1918 to 1920, there were no enclaves, as you saw. Everything was in Armenian lands. And in 1918, 1920, these lands were also in Armenia. These lands are given by Soviet Republic, Soviet Union, to Soviet Azerbaijan. And Aliyev says he does not recognize Soviet Azerbaijan. If he doesn't recognize, shouldn't recognize the lands given to him by Soviet Azerbaijan. But that's policy. It's because today policy only power talks, not reason. Not justice, not reason. I'll give you another example of the Sevlich, Black Lake here. But border was this, and they changed to this. 2 years ago, this is the map, the border of that black line after giving that 700 square kilometers to Azerbaijan. This black one is the Azeri-Armenian border, approved in 1970 by both countries. In 1921, Azerbaijan comes with a map that has changed the map, the border here, into this one, and they changed this border to this one. And it says, this is the map, this is the actual map, this is our borders. I don't think anybody has dared to ask them to compare their own signed maps with what they're claiming today. Both these are in my book, the images of these maps, what was signed, what was done, and what is they claim today. This is the infamous Tavush region. This is the black line is the Azeri borders. Now, how can you draw a border like this? And this is the Armenian highway. It goes there and enters Azerbaijan, comes back, enters Azerbaijan, comes back, enters Azerbaijan, then comes back, again enters Azerbaijan. Even if you decide to keep to the Soviet rules, your roads passes from one country to the other. Our esteemed opposition takes the example of Goris to Kapan highway. He said Armenian prime minister gave 20 kilometers of Armenian road to Azerbaijan. No, he didn't. The Soviet Union had given it to them. And after the war, when we decided to come back to our original borders, we had to go to original borders, and our road passes through Azerbaijan, which they stopped anyway. The same is happening here. So the problem is going to be these roads. And then they claim that if we give the enclave to Azerbaijan, there will be no problem at all. Here's the road from Yerevan to Goris, to Areni, to, I don't know, Meghri, etc. If you've traveled the Ararat Valley, at the end of the valley, when you get to Yerazh, you turn left. There's a big flagpole here, Armenian flagpole. You turn sharp left, they start climbing up high. There is the Azerbaijani enclave of Tikranashen or Karki, sitting on the Armenian highway. So if the enclaves are given back to Azerbaijan, we end up with this road cut. Yes, there's an alternative road here going through the villages. It's a narrow 4 or 5 meter wide country road, and it goes through 10 villages. No lorry, no coach, no tanker can pass through these roads. In other words, Armenia will be cut off from southern part of it. The area of central Armenia and the southern Armenia will lose communication. By the time this road is built, it will take a year or two. So this is a problem. We have to think about that. Here's the map of Armenia, map of Artsakh, as it stood in 1985. All the blue regions are the lands that were taken by Azerbaijani from Armenia as well as from Artsakh between 1927 to 1940s. These are about 1,200 square kilometers. And furthermore, in 2021, Azerbaijan started to attack Armenian territories even after the agreement of November 2020, that their forces were going back to the original borders. Azerbaijan started attacking Armenia and attacked Armenia in order to prevent the war from escalating. gradually withdrew them and let them come forward. Now, today, all these colored regions are taken from Armenia by Azeris. There is one important thing here. There are two important things. That these are all strategic heights overlooking Armenian lands, Armenian villages, etc. They have not occupied Armenian villages. They've occupied lands from where they control Armenian land and Armenian villages. Therefore, internationally, they have upper hand on Armenia in Tavush. In Tavush, we have taken 4 small Azerbaijani villages in 1992 in order to have security on our transportation, our roads. And everybody in Europe, they said, oh, Armenia has occupied villages. Those villages have been empty for the last 30 years, but it doesn't matter, it's villages. So they go back to our human rights. Armenia has disregarded the human rights of those villagers, while Azerbaijan has just taken 200 square kilometers of the heights, strategic heights, no living areas. This is the reason that it's important that in Tavush we resolve this so that we do not occupy Azerbaijani villages. An international court cannot come us to say, and you have disregarded human rights of these people who lived there. Azerbaijan has been very careful. Even in Hand, they have surrounded the village in 3 sides, but they haven't occupied the village. This is difference between us and Azerbaijanis. We think we act from the heart, and they act thinking, planning well ahead with thinking. Anyway, this is more or less what is contained in the book. Now, a few words about the situation today, what is happening today. These maps you must have seen a couple of weeks ago on television regarding the region of Tavush. These yellow and violet lines are the Azeri-Armenian borders, right? By the way, this border in 1920 went along this river. So this lot and this lot were part of Armenia. But later, Soviet Union changed it. And in 1970s, we accepted. In 1991, we also have approved this as the border. So these 4 villages, Azeri villages, are Azeri villages, and then the yellow ones are the Armenian villages. Now, in order to, you see, the highway passes through here, Azerbaijan, then again Azerbaijan, then again through Azerbaijan, again through Azerbaijan. In 1990, when the war started, villages from the Azeri side, even with throwing stones were Armenian lorries, Armenian cars passing through them, and sometimes shooting at them. There were losses. A few drivers were killed on that road. And the Armenian forces decided to do something about it, and they did this. These green areas are the area where the road is very close to the border. So they took control of this lot. They took control of this area as well, so that this land passing through here does not face enemy fire. The drivers there do not face enemy fire. But this is uninhabited, no problem. The problem is this village that is part of it is occupied, this village part of it is occupied, and also these 2, Khayramli and the last one there, Karagizil. So today the discussion is about this. In order to, why Azerbaijan has taken this area and want to start the delimitation and demarcation from here, because he has the right saying Armenian have occupied our villages. The villages are empty. There's nobody there, and there's not even a standing building there. But he's got the right to claim to get back villages. And Pashinyan's government has decided to give it back to them. The only one proviso that is important, one sample is this detailed map. This is a military copy from a military map of the Kiran's village, what they called it. Okay? Red is border. Sorry, I said red is the road, main road, Armenian road. And the green is the border between Armenia and Azerbaijan. You see, Azerbaijan has come, this is Khayremlu village, Turkish. This is the Kiran's village, Armenian. They're 200 meters apart. In the old days, where everything was Soviet Union, there was no problem. They were coexisting from 200 meters away. There's a neighbor there. And when war started, we occupied this area again. There was nobody living there, so no problem. Now that we have to give those back, it's a problem for the villages. I understand them. Because they're going to, if everything is right, they're going to live here, and Azer is going to live there, a couple of 100 meters from each other. They're always going to see each other, which is not pleasant at today's atmosphere. But the important thing is, you see, Azerbaijani, why is the border here? The border, this little bridge that we're talking about, this is the little bridge. Azerbaijan has come over past the bridge, and the bridge is inside our Azerbaijani land, while the village is in Armenian land. This is Soviet reasoning for dividing between the territories. Now I hear yesterday that this problem has resolved, and most of the land, the demarcation and delimitation has been done, except this little bit of a bridge. That bridge either has to be given to Armenia, and for this little bit of land, if they give to Armenia, Armenian can give another piece of land to Azerbaijan. This will be easy solution, but Azerbaijan doesn't want easy solution. He wants easy problems. So I don't know where we get, and eventually, if things come to head, we have to make a road from crossing the gorge here and connect to Kiran's from there, and just forget this piece of the land, the road. This is the situation that we are standing today, and I heard, as I said today, that this is resolved, and even the villagers said, we are getting more than we expected. We are getting about 3 hectares of land extra to what we think we had. And there's a problem of the church that it's always opposition raises. That little church is here, just inside Armenian territory. It's inside Armenian territory. It's not inside our Azerbaijani territory. But it's right next to the border. It's very near the border. So in order for the church to be usable, we have to have conditions that they're peaceful. The villages on both sides are sort of consider each other as human beings, but as enemies. And this will come in time, but until Azerbaijan teaches in his schools that Armenians are Turk killers, all of them. Any Armenian seeing a Turk will first try to kill the Turk, the Azerbaijani rather. And this is written in their historic books of history in the 5th and 7th grades. I have a copy of those books. So until this disappears from the textbooks and the next generation thinks a bit more rationally, this problem is going to be resolved very, very slowly. For this reason, I thought that we a little bit of extra information about the situation today for your ears. And thank you for your information, for the attention. And always bear in mind, Azerbaijan, country established in 1918, and he claims historic lands. What historic lands? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Galichian. It was Mr. Galichian. It was fascinating, and you presented everything so clearly. And I feel like we all need to take a deep breath after that. So our hour is up, but I'm sure people have some questions. So maybe for just a few questions, we can have a bit of a Q&A.
Let me say that if anybody is interested in getting copies of the books, it's sold in the bookshops, and the nearest to this, it's Epigraph on Marshtots Avenue, number 4, I think. And all the other bookshops also have them. Yes, any questions? Or there are too many of them? Yeah.
In 1931, when you say it became clear that Azeris are not going to have Kurds come and were there any attempt? I guess the answer is no, by the Armenian, Soviet Armenia to reclaim those.
Well, I'll tell you something else. When their pieces of Armenian lands were near Goris were being given to Azerbaijan, the Land Commission here included the famous writer Axel Bakuns. He did not sign any protocols. He said, I'm against it, against giving our land. We cannot. Because by law, it should have been by referendum. Anyway, he didn't sign. What happened to him? He was thrown into the prison and shot in the prison. This is Soviet justice. If you don't obey our orders, this is what will happen to you. People were frightened. Today, I'll give you a small example. I'm not the only cartographer that knows these things in Armenia. There are not many who have lived all their lives in Armenia and know better than me what has happened, what is happening, etc. None of them are prepared to come and talk about it. I've asked many times when I appear in television stations, etc., interviews, why don't you ask somebody else to come to give their view as well? They said nobody wants to talk about it publicly. Probably Soviet time mentality, because if you say something which the government doesn't like, they'll throw you into jail or send you to Siberia. Doesn't apply today. Yes?
In today's noise, when everybody has an opinion and feels like they have to express it, I'm very happy to be here today because you gave us an impartial, fact-based information which we can go home and digest. And I'm very happy I came today because although I kind of knew what I already knew, but you kind of confirmed that I'm pretty intelligent to have come to that conclusion myself, so thank you. But I have a question which is genuinely based on the Almaty 1991 agreement or whatever they call it. The map that we are trying to reinstate today is 1985, correct?
It's not 85. It's not one map. It's a huge map of that. Those were printed between 1970 and 1982, 83. Yeah, about 15 years took them to print all those maps.
Now, we are not privy to those maps. However, you as a professional, as an expert, I'd like to know your personal, although I think from your talk it is pretty obvious and clear, but I'd like to know your opinion. Do you think that it is quite fair representation of what we think we are representing today?
You see, international delimitation and demarcation has basis. It says when you want to sit and talk about the borders between the two countries, you should take the latest map that you have in hand. Start from there. And if you're doing delimitation, it means there's a problem you want to solve. There are errata, there are wrong things in the maps that you want to correct. But the way to correct is that both sides understand what each other want. They sit down and they give their reasoning. They either convince the others or not. And then eventually come to a conclusion of what to do on the map. But you have to start from what you have. What we have is Almaty, when both Armenia and Azerbaijan have signed and approved Soviet internal administrative borders as official international borders. This is what they have agreed to. So there's no way to start anywhere else from anywhere else if you want to be on the right side of the law.
So I Maybe
Yeah.
there's this different.
What you said yesterday, I had an interesting encounter with a taxi driver. He apparently had recognized who I was. I was going somewhere and then coming to RA, and then he started asking a few sort of by the way questions. What do you think these problems will be solved? I said, yeah, there are means of doing it, etc. And he started carrying on until we said, and I was asking my opinion, and I said, look, I'm not a political person, but I'll give you the facts that I know of. In the end, you know what he said? He said, what you say, if the president of Armenia says, if the prime minister says, nobody's going to believe. But if you say it, everybody will believe it. because I'm not expressing opinion. I'm giving the facts as I have found. The reason that I was interested in cartography and mapping is I wanted to see what actually is on the land, on the maps, on the borders. And when I did that, my friend Shahin Zaytuntian is one of the sponsors. They said, asked me, why don't you make a book so that other people know about it as well? That was back 1920 into 2000. So that's why I started publishing my knowledge in books. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done.
Thank you.
Yes?
I was wondering, why is it the case that the Azerbaijani land that Armenia occupied, why were they unoccupied villages? Like, why are they termed villages if they're unoccupied?
The villages are unoccupied because the villagers thought that the Armenians are controlled. It's dangerous for them to live with the Armenians, so they escaped back to Azerbaijan proper. And for the 30 years, those buildings have stood there without attendance, nobody attending to them. Most of them have crumbled down. And Aliyev is not interested in getting empty villages back. He's not going to do anything with them. He only wants to create problems with Armenia, for Armenia. You have to give them back. This is human rights, disregard of human rights to occupy villages where people lived. Nobody's going to live there now. As much as Armenia doesn't like to live with Azerbaijanis today, the Azerbaijanis don't want to live with the Armenians either. So it's reciprocal. Yes? Make it a bit louder if you can.
I spent a numerous number of years already on the border, distributing aid post-2020 war in pretty dangerous areas. And one of the roads I used to use was the Goris Papa,
Yeah.
which is now no longer. And I was there again at New Year's, and it was very difficult to access some villages, including Borodonka north of Vaisravan. Right now I'm trying to build a water pipeline for the villages of Vaisravan, because they are completely cut off from
Yeah, that's right.
So my question is in two parts. A, in 2021, when that road was given, I think it was 2021.
Wasn't given, it was there.
It was there, but we
Yeah.
weren't accessing it. It was a very dangerous road.
Yeah.
And we were ourselves also target of these shootings, stone throwing, everything. That road, if I understood correctly, was it correct that Armenia gave that road back? And second part is, what is the future for these villages? Because now we're trying our best to help, but is there any future plan or anything for Armenia?
The part of your question, most of your question is answered in my book. There are 3 images of the road there. One image shows the road as it's shown is on Soviet Armenian maps printed for the public consumption. It shows from Goris to Kapan, it goes through Armenia only. Then I have the military map, like this one that I showed you. It shows that after Karahunj, the road enters Azerbaijan, travels 20 kilometers inside Azerbaijan, comes back, and in 8 places, sometimes the road itself is the border, and the village of Shurnukh, the central road avenue of the village with the white markings. The white marking is the border. Right side is Azerbaijan, left side is Armenia. Now what kind of delimitation and demarcation, what kind of border drawing is this? It's done by purpose, on purpose. Like they did, they have installed all the enclaves on purpose on Armenian highways, so that the Armenian highway will be under the control of the Azeris. This is the Soviet policy. Always give precedence to Muslims rather than to the Christians. This has been happening since 1730s. No, I traveled on road in 1993, and the taxi driver was saying, now we enter Azerbaijan, now we come back to Armenia. Now we enter Azerbaijan, we come back to Armenia. And the local people knew. Those who were driving, they knew. The rest of the population of Armenia knew nothing about this. And I was even, when I said this publicly, that we're entering Azerbaijan, somebody threatened me that they'll give you to military tribunal because you're a traitor to the country, you're saying the wrong things to the public. I told him to come and show you the military map, what it says, and they knew who is lying, me or your government. Because the government drew all the roads inside Armenia. I raised the point with the cadastre, and they said if we draw the right road that goes into Azerbaijan, comes back, we will not get permit to publish it. This was Soviet rule. Yes. Also. Oh, yeah. Ես ասեմ ձեզ այդ սահմանագծման այդ ընդհանուր ղեկավարությունը որ ստեղծվել էր, ըստ հանդիպել եմ 15 հոգու մեջ 5 հոգի կային, որ գիտեին ինչ են ասում, մնացորդը տեղյակ չէին ինչ ոչինչից։ Ուրեմն այդ 5 հոգին պիտի գործն անի, այդ 5 հոգին էլ գործ անող չեն, դրանք որոշողներն են, որ ինչ պիտի կատարվի։ Գործը անողը այն մարդիկ են, որ այդ գործ արել են նախկինում, գիտեն ինչ անեն, եւ ես կարծում եմ որոշ չափով նրանցից դրել են այս գործի վրա, որտեղ չեն հայտարարել ովքեր են դրանք։ Չի հայտարարվել երբեք այդ հանձնախումբները։ Բայց քանի որ տեսնում եմ սահմանները որտեղն են արագ-արագ այդ ձողերը դնում, դեռ հեշտ ճանապարհները հեշտը դրել են։ Դժվարները այսօր հիմա ինձ հասցեցին, այդ 3 հատը մնացել ենք չգիտենք ինչ անենք դեռ։ Ուրեմն պետք է այդ մաստագետը գնա քարտեզի վրա նայի, տեսի այդ GPS-ի տեղը, այդ գիծը որ քարտեզի վրա գրած է, հողի վրա որտեղ է դա։ Եվ դրանով շարունակի, եւ հետո այդ կամուրջի խնդիրն էլ կա, այդ որոշ արդեն դիվանագիտական խնդիր է դա։ Diplomats consider what is diplomatically correct first, then come to the actual facts. I do the other way around. I look at the actual facts and leave the other considerations to the others to make.
Is there any conversation?
We've tried to talk about our subjects to each other sometimes, couple of times, yes, but not as much I would have liked to. Hopefully in the future with this book coming out, there will be more cooperation. Yes, why not? I have, Maher Grigoryan has asked me to talk about other people, with other people about these subjects. I have. I'm not a civil servant, therefore I cannot be part of any of these committees, etc. I can act only as an expert, as an advisor. They have asked me a few times, yes.
շատ կարևոր է, միգուցե ավելի կարևոր է հայերեն կամ անգլերեն, քանի որ այսօր Հայաստանում լիքը մարդիկ չգիտեն այս տեղեկության մասին։ Իսկ ինչպես ասեց ձեր տաքսու վարորդը, ձեզ ավելի շատ են հավատում, քան որ մեկին։ Արդյոք պլանավորել եք հայերեն լույս ընծայելը, թե չէ։
Այս գրքի փոքր օրինակը հայերենը կամ եք ավելի պարզ է։ Առաջերտի դա եմ հրատարակել ես 2022-ին։ Հետո թարգմանեցի անգլերեն, հետո ռուսերեն, հետո ֆրանսերեն։ Բայց դրա օրինակը կա։ Եվ դպրոցներին ես 4000 օրինակ տպել եմ, 2000 օրինակ ուղարկել եմ Հայաստանի բոլոր դպրոցներին, որ դպրոցների մեծ նյութ ունենան, ուսուցիչը գոնե իմանա ինչ որ տեղից նյութ քաղի։
Իսկ այս ակտուալ քարտեզը կա այնտեղ, այս։
Այս քարտեզը ոչ չկա այնտեղ։ Դա նորություն է։ Իմ գրքի մեջ էլ չկա այս քարտեզը։ Այդ որ ասում էի հայերենով, այս է, սա է։ Փոքրը այդ գրքի հայերեն, անգլերեն, ֆրանսերեն, ռուսերեն այս գիրքը կա։ Այո, գրախանութներում կան այս գիրքը։ Նախարարության հրամանով որպես ուսումնական նյութ է հրատարակվել։
One last question, and then
Last question. You showed us the map from 1926 and territories which were given to Azerbaijan as for Red Kurdistan. So, is there any legal basis under which decision these territories were given to Azerbaijan? Do you have these decisions?
I don't have. I have one of them, which proves it that it was not legally done. That area that I show you, 200 square kilometers, all lakes, all ledger. That area was given to Azerbaijan in 1929. End of 1981, the villagers found out that their lands is being given to Azerbaijan. So they wrote a letter to the Land Commission in Yerevan, asking them to send, saying, why have you given our lands to the others, which is our livelihood? And after 2 weeks, from Tbilisi, Transcaucasian Federation, which was ruling the area, that was Transcaucasian Federation, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia, answer came back saying that the map, the border has been drawn, as there was not a question to be asked. And I've got the letters in my book, those letters in this book. These last ones are not there because this is not. You can get. I can give them to you, but they're not. They're not in the book because this is just recent development.
Can we have this map also?
You want this map? I can send it to you. You give me an email. You can give me an email. I can send it to you. Anyway. Սա էս ներկա է, ներկանում ես վիճակը։ Մինչև քանի օր առաջ, որ սահմանագիծի այդ փայտերը չէին խփես, այլ անցյալ շաբաթվա քարտեզը։
Let's give one more big thank you to Mr. Galichian for joining us today.